Cambodia seeks Malaysia's assistance to secure soldiers detained by Thailand. India to continue purchase of Russian oil, no change in policy. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Otto Othman. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has instructed the immediate development of an action plan to implement the outcomes of the recent high-level international conference on the two-state solution held in New York. Now, Foreign Minister Versen Bakian conveyed the directive in an interview with Voice of Palestine Radio, saying the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will lead the formulation of a comprehensive strategy to translate the conference's recommendations into action. She underscored the importance of the conference, noting that its timing and content reflect growing international alignment on the urgency of realizing a two-state solution. Bakian added that 149 countries currently recognize the state of Palestine, with further recognitions expected as diplomatic outreach continues. She also welcomed Slovenia's recent decision to halt arms trade with Israel, calling it a courageous and advanced step that sends a clear message against violations of international law. The minister urged other European nations to adopt similar measures in support of Palestinian rights and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. Now, Cambodia is seeking Malaysia's assistance as ASEAN chair to help secure the release of 18 Cambodian soldiers detained by Thailand. The request came days before a General Border Committee (GBC) meeting scheduled to take place in Kuala Lumpur next week. Ministry of National Defence spokesperson Lieutenant General Amali Socheta said the Thai military had confirmed that the soldiers are safe and that the government is in talks for their release. Now, according to the Information Ministry's Facebook page, Mali stressed that the Ministry of National Defence and the Army of Cambodia will never leave any of its members behind under any circumstances. The two neighboring countries have a long history of trying to impose sovereignty along their 817-kilometer shared border in northern Cambodia. The latest conflict began with a brief skirmish between Thai and Cambodian troops on 28 May, which escalated into armed clashes on 24 July. 20 Cambodian soldiers were held captive by the Thai army following the clashes. On Friday, Thailand released 2 injured Cambodian soldiers. The fighting temporarily ceased on 28 July after both parties agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire during a special meeting in Putrajaya hosted by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Indian officials say the country will continue buying oil from Russia despite warnings of penalties from U.S. President Donald Trump. Media reported that 2 senior Indian officials confirmed there had been no change in policy. Now, one side of the government had issued a no direction to oil companies to reduce Russian imports. India's foreign and petroleum ministries, as well as the White House, have not responded to requests for comment. President Trump recently claimed that India would stop purchasing Russian oil. In earlier statements, he both threatened penalties and downplayed their enforcement, saying at one point he didn't care what India chose to do with Russia. Last month, Trump warned of possible 100% tariffs on countries that continue buying Russian oil unless Moscow agrees to a major peace deal in Ukraine. Russia remains India's largest oil supplier, accounting for around 35% of total imports. Some Indian state refiners paused purchases last week due to narrowing discounts, not political pressure. Ukraine's military says it has launched a series of strikes on key infrastructure inside Russia, including an oil refinery, a military airfield, and an electronics factory. Now, in a statement Saturday, Ukraine's unmanned systems forces claimed responsibility for hitting the Ryazan oil refinery about 180 kilometers southeast of Moscow. Also targeted was an oil storage facility in Russia's Voronezh region near the border with northeastern Ukraine. Russia has not yet responded publicly to the reported strikes. Separately, Ukraine's SBU intelligence agency said it had used drones to hit the Primorsko-Akhtarsk military airfield on the Sea of Azov. The SBU also said it struck a factory in Penza that supplies electronic components to Russia's defense industry. Ukraine's drone capabilities have evolved significantly since the start of the war in 2022, with the country now fielding long-range kamikaze drones capable of reaching deep into Russian territory. Russia's defense ministry said its forces downed 338 Ukrainian drones overnight. Ukraine's Air Force reported intercepting 45 of 53 Russian drones aimed at its territory in the same time period. Russian forces currently occupy nearly 20% of Ukraine after more than 3 years of full-scale war. Chilean state-run miner Codelco says it has recovered the remains of a second worker trapped after a tunnel collapse at its flagship El Teniente mine. Now, the discovery was made Saturday, 2 days after a strong underground tremor triggered the collapse in the Andestita section. Now, the identity of the victim was not yet been officially confirmed. One miner was confirmed dead on Thursday, the day of the incident. Andres Music, general manager of El Teniente, called the discovery deeply saddening, but said it confirms rescue teams are searching in the right location. Codelco is continuing recovery efforts, but also warned that operations are now proceeding more cautiously, which may slow progress. The company has not confirmed whether contact has been made with the remaining 3 missing miners. Earlier, Music said rescue crews have cleared just over 20% of the blocked tunnels. Thursday's collapse was triggered by a magnitude 4.2 tremor, one of the strongest ever recorded at El Teniente. Now, Codelco is investigating whether the quake was caused by a natural tectonic movement or by mining activity itself. Protesters gathered outside the U.S. consulate in Sao Paulo, denouncing steep new tariffs on Brazilian exports and accusing the United States of interfering in Brazil's sovereignty. On Wednesday, President Donald Trump raised the tariff on Brazilian goods to 50%. Now, the move triggered swift backlash across Brazil, with critics calling it political retaliation. Protesters say the U.S. is overstepping its bounds. The tariff followed Trump's public criticism on Brazil's trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who is accused of trying to hold on to power after losing the 2022 election. Trump linked the trade penalties to what he called political persecution. Despite the tough rhetoric, the U.S. order includes more than 700 product exemptions, among them aircraft from Embraer and Brazilian orange juice. Still, major exports like beef and coffee were left out of the exemptions and remain subject to full 50% duty. Originally set to take effect 1st August, the tariffs will now apply to goods entering the U.S. starting 6 October, giving Brazilian exporters a brief window to adjust. Coming up next, Iranian president arrives in Pakistan for official 2-day visit.
Peralatan elektrik 5 bintang memberikan penjimatan 5 bintang.
Welcome back. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian arrived in Pakistan on Saturday for an official 2-day visit at the invitation of the Prime Minister of Pakistan. He was received by former Prime Minister and head of Pakistan Muslim League N. Nawaz Sharif and Chief Minister of Punjab Province Maryam Nawaz at Lahore's Allama Iqbal International Airport. Now, in Lahore, Pezeshkian visited the mausoleum of Pakistan's national poet, Allama Iqbal, receiving an honor guard and laying a floral wreath at the mausoleum before writing a message in the official guest book. Pezeshkian later flew to Islamabad, where he was warmly received by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. According to Pakistan's Foreign Ministry, Pezeshkian is accompanied by a high-level delegation, including the Foreign Minister of Iran, Syed Abbas Araghchi, senior ministers and other high-ranking officials. During his stay, President Pezeshkian will meet with President of Pakistan, Asif Ali Zardari, and hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Sharif. The visit is Pezeshkian's first official one to Pakistan as President of Iran. Pakistan's Sharif last visited Iran in May. Now, authorities in northern China are racing to rebuild the flood-ravaged Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region following days of torrential rain. Crews are working to reopen roads, restore power and water, and help displaced villagers return to salvage and rebuild their homes. Heavy downpours struck Beijing's Meiyun, Huirao, and Yangqing districts last weekend, triggering emergency flood response measures. Officials say electricity, water, and communication services have now been fully restored to all storm-hit villages. Now, search and rescue operations continue in isolated areas, and reconstruction is accelerating across the region. In Pingdu district, over 130 task forces made up of Communist Party branches, local officials, and volunteers are clearing debris, disinfecting homes, and checking gas lines. In Hebei province, flood-damaged highways reopened on Saturday after days of round-the-clock work, and in Lodduho town, large-scale disinfection is underway. In Tianjin's Jinhao district, crews are working to restore basic living conditions and assess property damage. Meanwhile, the National Financial Regulatory Administration says insurers across 9 provinces and regions have received more than 65,000 claims linked to the floods, with estimated damages totaling 1.88 billion yuan. Now, the flow of natural gas from Azerbaijan to Syria through Turkish pipelines officially began on Saturday, with Aleppo thermal power station set to help add substantial amounts of electricity to Syria's struggling grid. Now, in the deal, Azerbaijan will export 1.2 billion cubic meters of gas annually to Syria from the BP-operated Shah Deniz gas field in the Azeri-Caspian Sea. SOCA Vice President El-Sad Nisrov was speaking in southern Turkey, close to the Syrian border, as Turkey and Azerbaijan launched natural gas exports to Syria. Azerbaijan's economy minister, Mikhail Jabarov, said the project followed agreements in April and July between Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev and Syria's transnational president, Ahmad al-Shara. Gas would be transported through Turkish territory to Syria under a coordinated agreement or arrangement. Turkish Energy Minister Alparslan Bayraktar said deliveries were expected to reach around 6 million cubic meters per day, with potential to supply up to 2 billion cubic meters annually in the first phase. The gas would be used to restart power plants in Syria with combined capacity of 1,200 megawatts. Now, Japan has just endured its hottest July since records began more than 125 years ago. The Japan Meteorological Agency reported that average temperatures across the country were nearly 3 degrees Celsius above normal, marking the 3rd consecutive year of record-breaking July heat. Now, the agency said national average was 2.89 degrees higher than the 1991 and to 2020 baseline, and warned the severe heat is expected to continue through August. Scientists say rising global temperatures driven by human-caused climate change are making heat waves more frequent and more intense worldwide, and Japan is no exception. Rainfall in July was also unusually low, especially in the north and along the Sea of Japan coast, where some areas experienced record drought conditions. The rainy season ended about 3 weeks early in western Japan. The ongoing heat is already having visible effects on Japan's environment. Cherry blossom trees are blooming earlier because warmer autumns and winters are falling or failing to trigger their natural flowering cycles. Meanwhile, Japan's iconic volcano, Mount Fuji, went without its signature snow cap until early November last year, the longest delay ever recorded. Meteorologists warn that the extreme weather pattern shows no sign of easing as Japan braces for more heat in the weeks ahead. A SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule carrying 4 international astronauts docked with the International Space Station ISS on Saturday. SpaceX confirmed the docking on social media, posting video of the capsule making contact with the ISS at 2:27 a.m. Eastern Time, high above the southeastern Pacific Ocean. Now aboard the spacecraft, American astronaut Zena Cardman and Mike Finkel, Japan's Kimiya Yui, and Russian cosmonaut Oleg Platonov. They will spend the next 6 months aboard the orbiting lab. This marks the 11th crew rotation under NASA's Commercial Crew Program, an initiative launched to replace the retired space shuttle by working with private industry. While on board, the Crew 11 team will support ongoing research and also carry out key experiments for future missions. That includes simultaneous or simulations of moon landing scenarios, specifically conditions expected near the lunar South Pole as part of NASA's Artemis program. Astronauts will use handheld controls and multiple screens to test how changing gravity impacts spacecraft operation. Among the science cargo on board include Armenian pomegranate seeds. They will be compared to a control group on Earth to help scientists understand how microgravity affects plant growth. Still to come in sports, Son Heung-min announces he is leaving Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur captain Son Heung-min will bring his 10-year spell with the Premier League club to an end this summer. While Son did not disclose his next destination, British media have linked him with a move to Major League Soccer club Los Angeles FC.
Yeah, I mean, I said before, it was the most difficult decision I made in my football career. So I've been here 10 years in a beautiful club and beautiful fans, and having such amazing memories. And after that, leaving this club, I think it was just so hard to make a decision. But as I said, I just felt like I need a new environment to push myself and to get more of me. I think I just need a little bit of change. I mean, 10 years is a lot of time when thinking about it. So, and I came to North London as a kid, 23 years old, very young age. Young boy came to London who even didn't speak English. So, and leaving this club as a grown man is very, very proud moment. So,
Son, who is under contract until 2026, led Spurs to their first trophy in 17 years with their win over Manchester United in the Europa League final in May, having joined the North London club from Bayer Leverkusen in 2015. Son had made 454 appearances for Spurs and scored 173 goals. He won the Premier League Golden Boot in the 2021-2022 season. Now still on to football, Lionel Messi exited Saturday night's Leagues Cup match against visiting Necaxa with an apparent leg injury in the 11th minute, with early signs suggesting a potential hamstring strain. Now the 38-year-old Messi's exit brings a halt to an exceptional run of clean health and longest since he joined Miami in July 2023. Now he played in every minute of 16 consecutive matches for Miami between MLS regular season and FIFA Club World Cup play before his failure to appear in the 2025 MLS All-Star game resulted in a one-match suspension against FC Cincinnati a week ago. Messi's run of consecutive appearances was in stark contrast to his first 2 MLS seasons, during which he missed significant portions of regular season play. After playing all 7 matches of Miami's run to the 2023 Leagues Cup title, minor ailments limited Messi to just 6 appearances among Miami's last 12 regular season games that year. He also dealt with multiple issues in 2024, the most pronounced being an extended recovery from a torn leg muscle sustained while playing for Argentina during the 2024 Copa America final that July. He played on the 9th 19 games in the first full MLS season, but he still scored 20 goals and had 16 assists to earn the league's 2024 MVP award. A packed Rams Park welcomed striker Victor Osimhen and winger Leroy Sané to Galatasaray at a signing ceremony in Istanbul on Saturday. The Super League champions announced on Thursday that they had acquired Osimhen from Serie A side Napoli for €75 million, making the Nigerian the most expensive incoming transfer in Turkish football. Osimhen's transfer shattered the previous record set by Fenerbahce when they signed Youssef Nsari from Sevilla on a 5-year contract for €20 million in July last year. Osimhen had been linked with a move away from Napoli last year, but the Nigeria international had seen a permanent move collapse on deadline day of the closed season transfer window. He subsequently joined Galatasaray on loan for the 2024-2025 season, where he delivered in an outstanding campaign with 37 goals and 8 assists in 41 appearances across all competitions, leading them to a 25th Turkish league title. Sané made his move to Galatasaray from Bayern Munich and made his debut with a side as a substitute last weekend in the friendly against French First Division side Racing Strasbourg. Sané, who has 70 caps for Germany, bagged 61 goals and registered 55 assists in 220 appearances for Bayern in all competitions. Now on to tennis, number 11 seed Karen Khachanov won 29 of 30 first serve points en route to a 6-4, 7-5 victory over 8 seed Casper Ruud on Saturday to reach the quarterfinals of the Canadian Open. Now the Russian had 7 aces among 29 winners while dispatching Ruud to reach the 10th 1,000 level quarterfinal of his career. Ruud rallied from 2-4 in the second set and then saved 3 consecutive breakpoints at 4-4 to spark hopes of a comeback. But Khachanov regrouped in clinical fashion to earn a statement win. Ruud of Norway had 23 winners, including 9 aces. By defeating the world number 13, Ruud in 1 hour 33 minutes, Khachanov snapped an 11-match losing streak against top 20 opponents. He now owns a 14-6 record at the Canadian ATP Masters 1000 event, his second most successful tournament at that level after Paris. Khachanov will next face 26-seeded Alex Michelsen, who recorded a 6-3, 6-3 victory over fellow American Lerner Tien to reach the quarters. Michelsen won 72.2% of his first serve points while beating his close friend. It also helped that Tien committed 20 unforced errors. In motorsports, double world champion Kalle Rovanperä steadily built his lead at the Rally Finland on Saturday morning in his bid for a first home WRC win. The Toyota driver dominated the stages on the high-speed forest roads to extend his advantage to 14.7 seconds over Hyundai's Terry Neville, despite a scare when his rear right tire began deflating. Neville's teammate Adrian Formal is hot on his heels, 15 seconds off the lead, with Toyota's Takamoto Katsuta fourth and Sebastian Ogier fifth. Hyundai had a miserable day with reigning champion Terry Neville second overnight and Adrian Formal suffering punctures that sent them plunging down the order to 6th and 7th respectively. Neville said it was now just a question of getting as many points as possible. From comics to games, take a look at the colorful stories coming up next in our Offbeat segment. Chinese game makers are seeking to increase their global market share as they showcase latest products at the ongoing 2025 China Digital Entertainment Expo and Conference, or China Joy, in Shanghai, which opened on Friday. For some exhibitors, this is not only a show for domestic players, but for a broader audience across the world. There is a saying in the gaming industry: you go abroad or you quit. Going overseas has become an unavoidable strategy for Chinese game makers.
This is not only for Chinese clients going global. This is actually for the entire gaming industry. One is, of course, the global economy. So it's basically going down in the past few years. So that's a fundamental reason for it's not only for gaming markets, it's also a negative impact on other markets. There's increasing competition within the gaming industry. And the third reason is the apps from other industry, like for short video, like for TikTok, they are eating the time of the gaming users. So the users now is spending less time on gaming than previous years.
Industry insiders believe for Chinese game makers, creating more lightweight games will be the key to win more market share in the future, and they've already started doing so. Downloads of casual games, for example, have seen a market share of over 40% among all game categories. The 26th edition of the Animation Comic Game Hong Kong ACGHK Convention opened on Friday at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Centre, bringing together fans, artists and industry leaders in one of Asia's largest pop culture events. The opening day shows crowds exploring elaborate toy displays, interacting with artists, posing with action figures, and visiting pavilions dedicated to anime, gaming, and blockbuster films. This year's show features nearly 160 exhibitors and more than 610 toy designers, nearly doubling its exhibition space to over 34,800 square meters and hosting around 800 booths.
咁點解會出呢個角色嘅原因，就因為我好中意黑神話悟空遊戲嘅設定啦，同埋佢背景好好玩啦，可以令到人不斷會想進步去挑戰嗰個遊戲咯。即係佢唔係佢比較困難一個遊戲嚟，真係。
可以投入到一個角色裏邊，然後去扮演佢，可以令我點講啊？明白到可能呢個角色當時嘅心情，亦都可能話可以抒發到，因為我咁中意佢呢個角色啊，點解我會中意呢套作品，可以重新再認識一次呢個角色咁樣。
Well, that wraps up World Today this time round. In our top story, Cambodia seeks Malaysia's assistance to secure soldiers detained by Thailand. For business news updates, do join us tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 or saluran Berita RTM. Until then, I'm Otto Othman, Malaysia Madani, Rakyat Disantuni.